Stop. So, for those who don't know, I am a two-time college dropout. The first time, it was because I didn't study, and the second time is because I gave up. Now, the specifics is that the first time around, I followed the suggestions of my Czech teacher, Czech high school teacher, who was like, you feel like somebody who'd have fun archiving and like storing stuff and working in a library. You should really go be a librarian. So I went to a uni to the librarian course, but it was part of the Faculty of Philosophy. And unfortunately, that faculty just does lectures, it doesn't do seminars. The difference between a lecture and a seminar is that during a lecture, you just sit there and listen. During a seminar, there's a back and forth, meaning you get participation points, which helps with your grade. With a lecture, you just have a final exam, and that's what determines your grade. And due to the nature of it, I did not study. I never learned how to study, which is why most of my stuff is poorly researched, admittedly. Or if researched, it's very, very surface level. Now, the first time I went through uni, there was one singular class that I actually managed to pass. This class was the history of fantastical literature, and basically was a seminar about how fantasy literature and sci-fi literature developed over the centuries, mostly with a focus in Europe, but it did acknowledge like other nations, right? And so for our final grade to pass the class, we had to write an essay on a piece of fantastical literature, fantasy, sci fi, stuff like that. Now, the teacher was, and forgive me to use the term for the use of the term based, in that she banned anyone writing an essay on Tolkien or on Potter. Those were banned because she did not want basically all the non-readers in her class, in her seminar, to just give her like 20 Potter essays. I was a special large snowflake. I was a blizzard, and what I brought her was a Homestuck essay. I am not joking. The first time I went through uni, the one class I passed, the only class that I passed, was because of Homestuck. Now, I still do have that essay written. I still have the file for it in Czech, so I figure, hey, how about I like read that out so you can roast 20-year-old me, because yeah, I was 20 by the time that semester ended. It was 2016. All right, because I graduated high school in 2016 at 19, and I was one of the lucky kids. We did not have mandatory math. They always keep deciding whether there will be mandatory math or not. It just keeps swapping basically every other year. So I was one of the lucky ones who did not have mandatory math, just Czech, English, and then two subjects of your own choice. I picked history and social studies. Personally, irrelevant right now. So I was 20, right? 20-year-old. So we can roast 20-year-old me about the Homestuck essay, because it's like Homestuck by Andrew Hussey. Homestuck's an interactive webcomic found on the web on domain mspaintadventures.com, whose author is Andrew Hussey, who is now an internet celebrity thanks to the popularity and reputation of Homestuck. Or like infamy, am I right? Yes, and I'm already reading that that fucking essay thing. Hold on, let me just make the screen for myself a little big here so I have an easier time reading it. You won't know this, but I will. There we go. it's nice to have access to OVR Toolkit. You don't even know how easy it is in VR. Right. And we started posted pages of this comics on MS Paint Adventures on the 13th of April 2019. The date whose American type of writing for 13 has become an important number in the comics and in the fandom. An important date as well. I mean, are you all excited? It's gonna be, damn, 2023. 14 years on Homestuck, right? And it finished October 25th of 2016. It finished just before I turned 20, like a month before I turned 20, and just in time for me to write this essay, right? Which is fun. It was neat that that happened. All right, and so it was like when there was the final interactive panel posted, and since then the official Snapchat has been posting epilogue panels, and the comics' multiverse meta narrative will be filled out by the episodic adventure game High Swap, which I have not played episode 2 of yet. I've only played episode 1. I should play episode 2, which had a successful Kickstarter in 2012. God, remember the Kickstarter? I do. Wish I didn't, but I remember the Kickstarter. It was something. All right, and that's how I keep going. It's like, God, the way I described the base plot. The plot takes place in a number of realities, the most important of which is the medium, where most of the plot takes place. The main parts of the plot are as follows. John Egbert, and I'm sorry to the name June, is turning 13, and a open beta for the game's Burb, for which him and his friends Dave Strider, Roseland, and Jane Harley have been excited for, is coming out. At that moment, they are unaware what kind of game it is, as Burb is a game that appears in a universe once it matures, and its purpose is to destroy the home world of the players once the players enter the medium, and where the players have their own quests that's supposed to help them mature, and the collective quest of creating a universe and defeating an army of black chess pieces from the planet Durs. Our four heroes, during their adventures make contact with a group of internet trolls who, as our players find out, are an alien race called trolls, and the group of 12 that our players have made contact with played the game before them and created our universe, resulting in the 12 zodiac signs. Because they screwed up the creation of the universe, our players cannot win their sessions and thus decide to do a hard reset, swapping places with their guardians and trying to win the game in their instance. Right? And that's summary, right? That's kind of, that was the summary at the time. Now I know, thanks to Sarah's video about writing 50,000 words of Homestuck fanfiction in a day, that Homestuck is a story about adolescence in the internet age. Basically, right? And I keep going that the summary does not touch about the personal quests of the players or their class spec titles or the main villain of the comics, Lord English, who manages to kill Andrew Hussey because Andrew Hussey is a character in his own comics and he is killed by his own creation. Right? And then he sims for Vriska. Everything is always about Vriska, isn't it? I'm not editing this. This is an unedited footage, but like imagine the chart here, right? The the fucking meme Homestuck. Do the sprites know about it? No. Or yes. It's like, if yes, part of Spurb, nobody's fault. No. Was Riska there? Yes, no. No, check again. Yes, Riska's fault. She has done so many things and none of them were bad. And then I had to justify why it's fantastical literature. And it's like, yeah, it's an epic, it's a fucking epic that's longer than a lot of stuff. A game that creates the physical world of the players and causes an apocalypse. A war of two planets that does not move until the players don't start playing the game, which give the side soldiers a mythological creature that is found in the center of the game worlds of the players that they have to defeat or make a deal with. Journey between the worlds, the possibility of becoming gods and reaching conditional immortality, dying a just or heroic death. There's the world functioning as a point and click adventure game even before the proper game exists, and you know, references to the look of the world and all that, because at the start Homestuck was a collaboration between the Raiders and Hussey, who gave him commands what to draw, until it became too big, and then he had to start again. I don't know if I should keep reading it. It's just, it's 3 pages. It's 3 pages of stuff, and there's always questions. It's like, what genre it is? Epic fantasy. What has Homestuck done? And it influenced a lot of stuff, played with the medium of webcomics in a way that no other webcomic before it has. Looking at what it was influenced by and inspired by, and like what it calls back to, and then the internet culture during its release, important stuff. Hussey's involvement in fandom. This, mind you, this was before the Toblerone incident, right? This was 2016. This was fresh after a game finished. The epilogues were not yet out when I was writing it. And admittedly, I have not yet read epilogues. I have not sat down to read the epilogues. They feel long, and the split was very annoying. I like just having one path to follow, right? And it's like, is Homestuck worth reading? And my opinion at the time was, it's a mess that I would not recommend to people because I grew up on it and it's very hard to get into. It's very inaccessible due to the formatting. There's epilepsy inducing things, seizure inducing flash animations. The text is difficult to read. And not to mention the quirks of the trolls. I'm used to them. A new reader wouldn't be, and so they'd have a harder time adapting. And honestly, trying to read Karkat's text, his gray, all caps log text, is a challenge for anyone with ADHD because there's no breaks there. Nothing at all. But I said that when I was edgy and when I was closeted, before I was on hormones, before I wrote stuff myself. So now what I can tell you is the unofficial Homestuck collection. Look it up. Unofficial Homestuck collection. In fact, I'll drop a link in the description. It's its own complete browser thing, client that lets you read everything that was on MS Paint Adventures and supplementary material. You can set it up so that it's as if you read it when it was being posted at the time, so you avoid spoilers. You avoid seeing June's hand everywhere as you read it, even that's a spoiler a little bit. And you can just experience the comic. And you should. It's influenced a lot of people, it's influenced a lot of internet culture, and it will help you in the long run to know Homestuck, to know about Homestuck, to read it. If only, if only because knowing it will let you go and read Sarah Zedig's Godfeels, which is admittedly the reason I'm even making this video. Because yesterday I caught up, I finished reading Godfeels 3 Act 1, right? Or Godfeels 3 Part 1. I forget the specific parlance. It's Godfeels 3. It's the first part of Godfeels 3. It's the 15 chapters. It's a wild ride of what happens there. Like, we go from John Egbert is suicidal because of retcon powers in Godfeels 1 to John Egbert disassociated in their adolescence and their gender split from themselves. And so that's why the comic is written in second person, right? That's why everything is you in Homestuck. And that gender, once John got their hands on the retcon powers, that gender developed into an entity that contains within itself every single version of every single individual within a Homestuck, and it manifests itself as Riska Circuit, as a version of Riska Circuit that John Egbert is familiar with, who helps June hatch, and then they fuse, and then the coming out goes bad, and then they get high off of trickster candy, which awakens the nihilistic, cynical depression within June and has it front and do shit, and then it's wild. And going from that to Godfield's 3, things are fucking up with the narrative. Jade Harley has spent centuries out in the Omniverse becoming Harbinger Silverbark as part of the extra cosmic Witchkind Legion, right? All these things. And she has a lot of enemies. And some of them show up. And shit happens. And it's wild. And now the next part is being uploaded. The double album. And I need... Sarah, I need a fucking break from Godfeels, you fucking goat. She's literally just a goat, and yet somehow has done that. Ugh. You're the reason one of my girlfriends has a Riska headmate, Sarah. I hope you realize. I don't think you'll watch this video, because I pointed you in the direction of the Yara Zimmerman video, but still, in case you do watch this video, fuck you, affectionate. You're too good an author, and I hope I get as good as you. The fucking knife bit still kills me. That's it for this video. Thanks for enjoying me babbling for however fucking long. I'm reading an excerpt from the paper I wrote on Homestuck to pass the single university class that I passed my first try at university. Uh, this is honestly to tide you over. I am waiting for the go ahead to post the next video, which is a collaboration between myself and Sammy from Transwatch Reviews. You'll see it when you'll see it. It should be done by the end of this month. Maybe in this week, who knows? I don't. I'm waiting on her. I'm done with it, basically. I just have to make the patron thanks section, and that'll be that. But with that, I think, Katie, this has been motherfucking unedited footage of a Gryphon, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.